Hello, very good evening. How are you? Yes, keep coming. I hope my voice is audible. Yeah. Hi. Hi Karthik. Hi Gautami. Hi Hari. Hi Dipti. Hi Amna. Hi Sujan. Hi Surya. Very good evening. Good to see you. Nice. So, how was yesterday's class? Yeah, thank you. So, did it make you comfortable or did it make you uncomfortable? How did you find payroll? More to come. Yeah. But I hope you liked it and something went inside of you. Yeah. Hi Arpita, very good evening. Yes, very good evening. It's a very interesting topic, so I want to go very slow, just to make sure that we understand the topic well, and also that we don't fail the examination. Given the examination fees and all, I don't want you to fail this examination at any cost. I don't want you to fail it at any cost. Okay. So, just a moment. Yeah. Yes. So before we get into the next topic, before we get into module 2, I would definitely want to revise what we did yesterday. Okay, so just open your material. Let's get into the material once. So you must have got these books. I'm not sure if you can see this, but this is how it will look like. So book 1, okay, and then you have this book 2. Okay, not sure how much of it you can see me, but this is how the books will look like. Book 1, book 2. This is not for use when I'm doing MCQs.
Accessibility shortcuts, 13 items, voice guide, off.
Yeah, just a second.
Pick.
Yeah. So this is something that is not supposed to be used when I'm doing the questions on live. Okay. So you must have got answer key also, and then this one also, how to pass the FPC examination. Okay, so please watch my introduction video, and also make sure you read this book. Okay, so answer key, how to pass the FPC examination, and then the answer key, you please set it aside. Okay, and then book 2 also, just keep it aside. Okay, so these 3 books, Baju Rakdo, keep it aside. I have also kept it aside. So let's confine to only book 1. Okay, we will be using this throughout, so let's make sure that we are with each other. Okay. Yeah. So before we get started, let's try to revise what we did yesterday. Just open the material once.
180-degree jump. He's essentially going to load his right hip with his arms, squat down, explode forcefully up.
Okay, so let's quickly revise, what we did yesterday before we get started. So we began with module 1, course introduction. So we spoke a little about course introduction. Then the course objectives we discussed, the different course objectives, right? Go through the same in your material also, all these, right? The different course objectives. I didn't explain in detail, the course objectives because I have some freshers also with me who have joined the course. So who are either graduates or postgraduates who do not have any experience or knowledge in USA Payroll. Okay, so but you will be covering all these topics. So if you are an experienced person who is watching this, so you must know that these are the topics that we will be covering. And yeah, so here you see the different types of workers, then the use of form I-9, form W-4, then how to calculate employee gross pay, then computing the federal income tax withholding. Okay, just to give you an overview once again. Okay, and then social security and Medicare withholdings, how do you withhold that correctly. Now what are these taxes and all, we will discuss progressively. So if you are somebody who is already experienced, you are an enrolled agent or a CPA who is doing this course, because we have some practicing chartered accountants also. Okay, so we will be going step by step. So these are the different terminologies that we will be using, then calculating the voluntary and involuntary deductions accurately according to federal guidelines, then distinguish between taxable and non-taxable compensation, then then what are the 3 methods to pay employees, then determine an organization's federal tax deposit schedule based on specific criteria, then completing a quarterly federal tax return. You need to file the payroll tax returns also. I mean, it may be filed monthly, it may be filed quarterly, annually also. Like what are those, we will get to learn. Then explain and complete specific lines in a federal unemployment tax return. Okay, what is that, how it looks like, that also we will take a look. So these are the different course objectives that we were discussing yesterday. Yeah, hello. Yeah, hi. Then understand the basics of payroll accounting, then define different components of an automated payroll system. Most of it is automated only. Then describe characteristics of a successful payroll professional. Okay, so all these topics we will be covering it in 10 modules. So yesterday we completed our first module, right? What is payroll? Now in that there were 3 lessons: the nature of payroll profession, then the payroll process, and then lesson 3, objectives of the payroll department. So these are the 3 lessons that we saw yesterday. And let's take lesson by lesson. The nature of payroll profession, because I love to revise before we go into the next topic. So we understood the importance of this lesson is that to pay its employees accurately and on time, to issue payments to employees. I mean, that's why the payroll comes into picture. And then the objectives of this lesson is to define the common tasks specific to the payroll profession, then describe the challenges the payroll professionals face on a day-to-day basis. What are their tasks, and then what are their challenges in executing those tasks. And here we also read a little about role of the payroll professional and then the challenges. And payroll professionals role, basically, these 5 components are very important. First one being, to pay the employees. When somebody talks about payroll, what comes to the mind? That you have to definitely, pay them. That's the main thing, that's the main thing, that comes to the mind. And then customer service, timesheet collection. Timesheet, when somebody says timesheet, it is like the number of hours the person has worked during a work time period. So let's say, every week or something like that. And then compliance, and then garnish payments, record retention, how to keep the records, then tax filing, then reporting, general ledger, and all these things. Okay, we will be studying all these things. Then what are the challenges? Here we read about the complexity. Basically, the federal and the state tax laws are basically complex. And here in US, what happens, as I told you yesterday, you will have to pay taxes. An employee may be subject to pay taxes to federal, state, and or local also. It means a city or a county also. Okay, so there are different government agencies, the person has to deal with, and then there are government requirements, and there are company policies also. Each company, may have its own rules, regulations, and guidelines also. Then communication. So just because you know somebody, just because you know that colleague, it doesn't mean that you can assume certain things. You have to double ensure that the fact is given, it is documented, and there's a clear and concise explanation. Okay, so there's nothing to be assumed as such. Then we went on to understand the technology challenge. Now when you say a technology challenge, it is like, what software do you use, what equipments do you use to do payroll, what are the different applications now, web-based, cloud-based, or intranet, in-house, what are the applications, and then how are you storing these records? So if an employee joins, what are the different records that we maintain? So that is a technology challenge. And then we went on to learn about the accuracy challenge. You have to make sure that the paycheck that you give to the employee is accurate and it is processed on time, tax filing is done on time, and then reporting to necessary authorities, whether federal, whether state, whether social security administration, whether local authorities. All these people, they are paid properly. Then we went on to learn about lesson 2, the payroll process. Okay, see, whatever we are covering in the class is more than enough, for you to attempt the FPC questions. Okay, so do not be perplexed, and do not be anxious about, okay, what else I have to read and things like that. You are absolutely in the safe hands. So just make sure, that you just practice what we are telling you. Okay, so you can count on us on this particular matter. So do not be anxious about anything. And then here the importance is to, it's reiterating, the same point again and again and again. So ensure the employee is paid accurately and on time. That's the main thing. Yeah. And then after completing this lesson, you will be able to list the components of the fundamental payroll process. We saw a little diagram somewhere, right? The lesson consists the following topics: the fundamental process. Now here, when you say, the fundamental process, here there are these 7 steps that we learnt. It is important. So there are these 7 steps. Determine the worker type. Okay, so today we will be learning about the worker type also. I'm just reiterating this, so that you feel comfortable of what we discussed so far. There are different employees, like full-time employee, temporary employee, things like that, right? So there are different types of employees. So who is the employee that you are working with? Whose payroll are you doing? So that is something that we are ought to understand. Next one, how do we calculate the employee's gross pay? Put yourself in this process. Put yourself in this process, assuming you're working in the US. Put yourself in this process, then you will be able to understand better. Okay, so determine the worker type, then calculate the employee's gross pay. See, boss may be paying you different emoluments. There may be different things that boss may be paying to an employee. So what is it that your company is paying you? So that is something you have to keep track of, right? Yeah. Next one, determine the tax treatment of employer paid benefits. So there must be different employer paid benefits. So he may be offering you training, he may be offering you a car, he may be offering you some childcare benefits. So there may be different benefits, like what we read in EA part 1. For those of you who are from EA, or those of you who are CPAs and all, so there may be different emoluments that a person might have received from the employer. Okay, so even those things has to be considered. They have to be accounted when you are calculating the employee's payroll. Next one, withholding taxes. So what are the different taxes that needs to be withheld by the employee or the employer? What are the different taxes? Even that has to be taken care of. So whether it is to federal, whether it is to state, whether it is to local, and then those FICA taxes, like Social Security, Medicare taxes. Yeah. Then apply voluntary and involuntary deductions. Apply voluntary and then involuntary deductions. Then pay employees, then report taxes and then wages. Yeah, all these. What are the different deductions that comes in, and then report taxes and then wages. Because once you make the payment to employees also, it doesn't end there. You will have to file the appropriate taxes with the government also. Even that has to be taken care of, right? And that has to be timely. Next, lesson 3, when we went on to learn about the objectives of the payroll department. What are the different objectives of the payroll department? Why are they there? Okay, so each payroll department, everybody as an individual, you should have a value, vision and mission. So how much more an organization? Okay, so establish the objectives and metrics for determining if the objectives have been met. So it's like you set the targets. So what I say, not sure if I told in this class. Yeah, I'm sure I have not told in this class. Like normally what I say is 20-20-20 rule. This is something I learned from my mentor Robin Sharma. So the 20-20-20 rule, what it says is the first 20 minutes of the day, when you start the day, you have to exercise. You have to sweat, so that the sweat comes from your head and it releases BDNF, brain derived neurotropic factor. So what you are able to do in 8 hours, you will be able to do in 4 hours or 6 hours, or maybe you will be able to do in less time more effectively. So exercise is very, very important. So the first 20 minutes of the day goes into exercising, and then the next 20 minutes goes into learning something, listening to something that makes you a better person. Okay, so I do both, 1 and 2 together I do, so that I get that 40 minutes. And then finally it is planning, journal. You have to plan your day. What is it that you want to do? Try this. Okay, so at iLead Tax Academy, my goal is not just to produce these US tax and accounting professionals and then create tension on yourself and on the clients and die early. Okay, so I don't want to die. I don't want you to die early without doing anything significant in life. Okay, when you don't take care of your health, you become a nuisance to your loved ones. Seriously, you become a nuisance to your loved ones. Okay, if something happened without your intervention, yes, that's something beyond our hands. But if it is something you have intentionally welcomed by being indisciplined and being irresponsible about a wonderful health that the Lord Almighty has given you, then definitely you are going to face the consequences of it. Okay, so me at iLead wants to very strongly emphasize and urge all my students to make sure that they exercise, a little physical activity. And now exercise, I don't mean you have to lift dumbbells, run marathons and all. I didn't mean that. I mean, if you are able to spend 20 minutes in a day, I mean, doing your body weight exercises at home, or practicing walking on a treadmill and practicing a healthy diet. It's not diet also, it's like eating the right food. I'm sure you will live long, live strong, and you will be a blessing to many. Okay, so whatever your education is, it must be useful to others. It should be your employer, it should be to your clients, it should be to your family also, right? So anyways, I just wanted to make that point, because as a teacher I would definitely love to inculcate some values and certain principles that I would love my kids or my students to be led by. So telling you is my part, implementing is in your hands. Okay, so definitely each organization, everybody should have certain vision, mission, and all these objectives, and make sure that they run according to it. Now here, coming to the mission statement of it, payroll department's mission and then payroll department's objectives. Okay, now here payroll department's activities, when we were talking yesterday, there are different activities. They may be they have to ensure that the payments are made to employees on time. Then they have to file the payroll tax returns. They have to request payroll tax payments to government authorities. Even those payments have to be made on time. So these are all certain things that the payroll department is supposed to take care of, right? And then they have to define those for which it performs. I mean, for whom are they doing all these activities? So that is something that they have to keep it in mind. For whom are they doing all these activities? Next, state the results of the department performing well. Now, how is that department doing? I mean, give the insights. Okay, so and so employee made so many sales, or he delivered so much. So when you have a productivity linked payment plan, as an organization you will grow, and even as an employee you are making a difference. Okay, you don't treat everybody the same. Okay, so the payroll department goes very, very vital in communicating the leaders, about the productivity of the employees as well. Okay, so state the results of the department performing well. And then next we went on to learn about the payroll department's objectives also. So here we listed four objectives: key result area, objectives, action steps, and then evaluation. 4 things, right? Key result areas do not define the entire job responsibility, but rather will identify the critical few where priority effort should be directed. So what are the areas that needs focus and things like that, right? Then next one is about objectives. Now, is it long term, is it short term, and things like that. Like sometimes the targets may be for a long term, for the entire year. Sometimes the target may be only for a short period, like every month or every quarter or something like that. Next, what are the actions that must be taken? What are the actions that must be taken to arrive at those numbers? And who is evaluating those numbers? So somebody might say that they met the target, or something like that. So in case they have met the target, now who is going to evaluate that? Okay, so even that has to be looked into. So the 4 main performance objectives. Okay, and then we went on to discuss yesterday about certain departments like Internal Revenue Service. I think they missed Internal Revenue Service here. We discussed about Internal Revenue Service, right? IRS. First we discussed about that, because IRS is the one that governs, right? That's the governing body. Next one, we went on to learn about Social Security Administration. Social Security Administration is somebody who issues the Social Security number. So just like how in India we have PAN number, similarly in US you have Social Security number, and they are the ones who also offer Social Security benefits also. Okay, I think I've explained you all those things yesterday. but still again, reiterating those points for you so that you better understand. Next, I told you, just like PAN card in India, similarly you have a social security card. Of course there are different features to it, but just something that establishes the identity and things like that. Next, I showed you that there are different state departments. I showed you US state map. So you pick any state, so you say California State Tax Department, you just Google it, you get the franchise tax board. Each state will have, if you look for Virginia State Tax Department, then it will be like Commonwealth of Virginia. The names may be different, but if you have to know about a particular state department, how things work there and all, then just enter the state name followed by the state tax department, and you will get all the answers. And then finally we also learnt about W2 and then 1099 NEC. W2 is for employees, okay, and then NEC, 1099 NEC is for contractors, independent contractors, who is not an employee but who works on a contract. Okay, so these were some of the other things that we discussed yesterday, and then I said, let your dreams be your wings. Yeah. As you see, iLead, the logo, this lion is none other than you are that lion who is leading your life. Okay, so let me quickly get you the next topic in a moment. Just go through topic 1 in the meantime. Take a look at module 2 while I get that presentation here. Okay, welcome back. So keep this book also with you, book 1. Okay, keep the book 1 also with you, module 2. Module 2. See, our goal is to make sure we understand each and every page, every line in this. Okay, in case somebody fails the examination, you have to wait 6 months. Okay, so that's why I'm not giving you any running notes here as I gave you in the class. But that's why we have made the presentation for you. In case there's a chance, we will also do a revision class. I'll let you know in case that is possible, because the tax season is also approaching. But I'm sure with these presentations and all that we are making, I'm sure you will be able to highlight the necessary points in your material and study through it properly. Okay, now let's get into this. Okay, module 2. So as you see, the first topic that you see there is determining the worker type. Okay, so it is the first step of the fundamental payroll process, right? So yesterday, even now in the previous session, we saw those 7 categories, right? Just a moment. So this is module 2. So I'll call it as module 2. Let me just edit this. Just a moment. Determining worker type. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so module 2, determining worker type. So this is the first one. So it's the first step of the fundamental payroll process, and must determine whether an employee must determine whether who is an employee and who is not. Okay, now let's read the first page here. Determining the type of worker is the first step of the fundamental payroll process. Employers must determine who is an employee and who is not. Misclassifying an employee as an independent contractor can cause your company significant problems. Obviously, for an employee, you have to withhold taxes. You are supposed to withhold taxes, pay FICA taxes, right? File the different tax returns like federal, state, local, and things like that. And with independent contractor, it is different again, right? So misclassifying, it will cost company thousands of dollars. Next one, misclassification represents a potential loss of revenue for all levels of government. Therefore, the IRS, state unemployment agencies, and other state and local government agencies look closely at employee classifications and assess severe penalties for misclassification. They assess severe penalties for misclassification, right? Obviously, when you are withholding the taxes from an employee's pay, who is supposed to get that? It is the government. And if you don't withhold the taxes from an employee, obviously the government becomes your enemy. Obviously it becomes your enemy, and you will be penalized with heavy penalties and all. Okay, the next one, we go on to learn the different contents here. So if you see in your material also, the module contains the following lessons. Lesson 1 is types of workers, then 2 is common law test, then 3 is what do I need from an employer, then 4 is new hire reporting, 5th one is international employees. Okay, so what happens when you have international employees and all. Okay, so let's go to lesson 1. Okay, so please keep that multicolor pen that we used in EA also, red, blue, green, black, and also whatever is your favorite color, or wherever you feel something is important for you, please make a note of this. Okay, so you're watching the presentation, you're listening to me, you're also looking at the material and making highlights. In case I'm going fast or something, please let me know. And in case after the class also, in case you have any doubts, please WhatsApp me. That's my number, 9949579091. Either me or my KM team we'll get in touch with you and clarify your queries. Okay, and you can also alternatively email us in case you feel that WhatsApp you're not that comfortable or you don't want to disturb us at abrupt times. You can also email us with your student name, with your name, your enrollment ID and things like that. Okay, and we will get in touch, or you can also contact your enrollment advisor. Okay, now let's get to lesson 1. Okay, I hope you're able to understand, right? You're not going fast. Lesson 1, types of workers. Different types of workers. Okay, workers can be independent contractors, temporary service workers, or leased workers. Okay, so if you go to lesson 1 in your material, where it talks about importance. Okay, so here you see every worker at your company is not necessarily your company's employee, right? Some workers can be independent contractors, temporary service workers, or leased workers. Designating a worker status is the responsibility of the employer, not the worker. Who is that? Designating, underline that or highlight that, designating a worker status is the responsibility of an employer, not the worker. Okay, now if you read that, every worker at your company is not necessarily your company's employee, obviously, so when you have a company, there may be different types of people coming into the company. They may be employees, they may be independent contractors, they may be vendors, they may be bankers, they may be customers, right? So there may be different types of people who walk into a company. Now, whoever is working for a company also, they are not necessarily employees of that company, right? They are not necessarily employees of that company. So, what's mentioned there, they may be full-time employees or they may be independent contractors. So let's say you have hired somebody, for your electricity, building maintenance. So these are all contractors. And then there may be temporary service workers. So let's say tax season normally, that's how we get requests for a lot of our EA students to be placed. Today also I was talking to one of our students, Tirupati. He completed 2 papers, Tirupati from Vijayawada, part 1 and part 2. He is not even a EA. He got placed for 5 lakhs plus salary. What is that company? So even before they complete, people are getting placed. Fernway Solutions, Bangalore. Yeah. So even before somebody is completing their EA, they get placed. And we also get requests from employers, Nanda, we don't want EA qualified and all. Somebody who has completed your training and who knows how to prepare the tax return, we want them on contract basis. Okay, so at iLead we also provide these internship facilities. So once person has completed the theory and real time, so we will depute them as interns who serve as temporary service employees. It's for the tax season, so it could be for 4 months, it could be for 6 months. I'm just linking it to our education and I'm trying to present these concepts to you. Next one is like leased workers. So when I say leased workers, it's like you can say security, housekeeping, right? So there may be you are talking to some company. Okay, you have a 20,000 SFT office and you have some 20 housekeeping people. Okay, so you have told the housekeeping company, let's say McLean. So you have told the housekeeping company that, see, I need 20 people at any given point of time. I need 20 people. Okay, and someday one person is absent. So what happens? They replace that person. Then there's a caretaker. My dad was a dementia patient, so we used to have a caretaker. So in case that caretaker had an emergency or he has to go out of town or something, he used to tell the company, or we also used to talk to the company, and they used to send somebody else. Okay, so we have taken them on lease. So something like, you understand? So if you see this diagram, those 4 types of employees that has been mentioned there. Employees, you understand, okay? Somebody who is working full time, full time in a company, it is that person. Just a second. Give me a moment. Teaching digitally, you have to make so much setup. Seriously. And I handle this all alone, of course, with you along. Okay. Yeah. So if you look at this chart, there are 4 types: employees, independent contractors, leased workers, and then temporary service workers. Okay. Now, employees, you understand. Okay, somebody who is working full time in a company or something like that. Then independent contractors, right? I told you, somebody who doesn't have that employer-employee relationship and all. Leased workers also I have told you, like housekeeping or something like that. Then temporary service workers, temporary, right? Seasonal employees also. I mean, I've just given that example. Okay. There's nothing that somebody is big, somebody is low, or things like that. Okay, there are many temporary service workers who make decent money. I have seen our own interns making 6 digits in the tax season in rupees. Yeah. Chalo. Now we will be talking about the lesson objective. After completing this lesson, you will be able to name 4 types of workers and summarize the characteristics of each. Okay, and this lesson contains the following topics here: employees, independent contractors, and then other worker types. So when we say other worker types, so it is about employees, independent contractors, and other worker types. They meant that leased workers and then temporary service workers. Okay, so we will go slowly, step by step, and try to understand each one of it. Okay, so first let's try to understand about employees. Okay, why not go back and check what we have done so far in module 2. Just take a look before I get into this topic about employees. Just see if your understanding is fine. Just flip through the pages. I mean, not much we did, but just flip through the pages and take a look. Are you able to grasp the subject properly so far? Highlight wherever it's important. Yeah, so welcome back. So let's get into employees. Okay, and wherever needed, you please make sure that you underline or highlight. Okay, employees. A worker is categorized as an employee when he or she is subject to the control of the employer. When he or she is subject to the control of the employer. I mean, that's the language that is given. So you don't want to be controlled, then become the boss. How can you become a boss? When you become a good employee. Yeah, only when you are a good team member, then you can be a good team player. And when you are a good team player, only then you can become a good team leader. And when you are a good team leader, then you become a good manager. When you become a good manager, that's when you become a good leader. And when you become a good leader, that's when you become a good entrepreneur, when you start caring for others. Okay, being a boss does not mean that मुझे उसके नीचे काम नहीं करना है. कोई भी किसी के नीचे काम नहीं करता. Okay, there's nobody who works under somebody. The leadership language is we all work with each other. Okay, But here, this is the language that they use. A worker is categorized as an employee when he or she is subject to the control of the employer. An employee performs work personally within the hours and locations assigned by the employer. So there are hours and locations that is assigned by the employer. An employee could qualify for the company benefits also. Now, why do they say control of the employer? It is your employer who controls even your personal time during your working hours. Absolutely. In case you take a permission to go out or something, or in case you are applying for a sick leave or a casual leave or something like that, it is employer certainly who is controlling. In fact, even the weekends are paid by your employer. Don't believe it? Your salary is calculated for 30 days, not for your 5 into 4 weeks, 20 days, right? If the employer starts calculating LOP for those 20 days, then you will die. So they consider your festivals, your weekends, everything. Yeah. So anytime you try to voice against an employer, try becoming one. Okay? Then you understand the pain. Wherever you are. Now, next one. There is an example, that is given here. A worker is an appraiser for a museum. The worker is on duty in the museum's office on assigned days and times. The worker's appraisals and proposals are subject to the museum's curator's approval. The lists containing leads of prospective sellers of art used by the appraiser belong to the museum. In addition to paying wages to the appraiser, the museum pays the cost of health insurance and the museum pays the cost of health insurance and then group term life insurance also. The appraiser performs the work assigned by the museum and is subject to the museum's curator's approval and is an employee of the museum. He is called an employee of the museum. Why? Read that. The worker is on duty in the museum's office on assigned days and times. Underline assigned days and times. Assigned days and time. Then the worker's appraisals and proposals are subject to the museum curator's approval. So somebody has to approve what he is doing. Approval. Underline that. Next, the lists containing the leads of prospective sellers of art used by the appraiser belong to the museum. So whatever work he is doing, the end product, it belongs to the company, belong to the museum. So you read museum, like a company. So underline that, belong to the museum. In addition to paying wages to the appraiser, the museum pays the cost of health insurance and group term life insurance also. See, for an independent contractor, it is not necessary to take all this health insurance, group term life insurance and all. But for an employee, it is. Then the appraiser performs work assigned by the museum, is subject to museum curator's approval. Again underline approval. So hence he is an employee of the museum. Okay, so if you see the highlighted words here, assigned days and time, right? Then approval on the 4th line. 5th line, belong to the museum. Belong to the museum. And then underline that cost of health insurance and group term life insurance also. I am on page 2-4. 2-4. Okay. Then in that example box, right? Then the appraiser performs work assigned by the museum, is subject to museum curator's approval and is an employee of the museum. Next. Employers must withhold federal income tax and social security and Medicare tax. Okay. What are the taxes? Just highlight them. Federal income tax, social security, Medicare tax, state income tax and local income tax from employees' paycheck. After deducting all this, what remains, Nanda, is what my LLC clients ask me. ये सब निकालने के बाद क्या बचता है, Nanda? This is what they ask me. But you ought to pay these taxes, right? Federal income tax, underline. Social security, underline. Medicare tax, probably you can use a highlighter also, that is up to you. But when you highlight, everything gets highlighted in your book. Okay, if you are comfortable underlining it in a pencil or something also, I'm fine with. The reason why I'm asking you to underline these, because your case studies, your questions, or your MCQs, multiple choice questions and all, come only based on these questions only. Okay. So employer must withhold federal income tax, social security, and Medicare tax, state income tax, and then local income tax. Yeah, and local. Okay, is my voice audible? Yeah, right. Local income tax from employees' paychecks. Next, in addition, the company must match the social security and Medicare tax payments of employees. Must match. Underline that. The company must match. Just underline that word. The company must match the social security and Medicare tax payments of employees. See, just like how you have in India PF, Provident Fund, right? So what happens in a Provident Fund? Whatever employee pays, even employer is supposed to pay that, right? EPF, Employee Provident Fund, and then Employer Provident Fund. Both employer and employee are supposed to pay that, right? So similarly here also you have these FICA tax payments, which must be paid by both. Okay, which must be paid by both employer and then employee. Plus make federal and state tax unemployment insurance contributions on their behalf. Okay, so underline that also. Federal and state unemployment insurance contributions. Okay, so read that paragraph once again. Employer must withhold federal income tax, social security and Medicare tax, state income tax, and local income tax from employees' paychecks. In addition, the company must match the social security and Medicare tax payments of employees, plus make federal and state employment insurance contributions on their behalf. Okay. Now, yesterday I was telling you that when somebody is an employee, they will be issued something called as what? What will they be issued? What is that? What is that they will be issued? You remember what I said? Yeah. Let me get you here. Yeah. Yes, so you're there, right? Good. So you're there, right? Okay, so they will be issued something called as W2, right? So let me show you those terms, what we just discussed. Right. Okay, red you can see. Yeah. Good. Thank you for participating. Yeah. Yes. Okay, now you see here box 1, right? Wages, tips, and other compensation. So box 1 is like your total income. Okay, then federal income tax. Okay, so let's say this is like 100,000. Okay, so in US when you are reading the numbers, don't say 1 lakh, 2 lakh and all. Okay, our students, okay, Indian students, so it is $100,000. So don't read it as 1 lakh. Okay, 100,000, right? So it is, you should pronounce it as $100,000. So federal income tax withheld is like your TDS. So let's say 10%. Let's assume, okay, 10%. So 10,000. Now next one, social security wages. social security wages, and then social security taxes withheld. Okay, so these are the taxes which will be paid to you at the time of your retirement, death or disability, whichever is earlier. Okay, so if you read our material also, that's what they mentioned. Employers must withhold, see that on below that example, employer must withhold federal income tax, social security and Medicare tax, state income tax and local income tax from employees' paychecks. Okay, from employees' paychecks. So when you keep withholding all that from the employee's paycheck, eventually where will that come? Summary, in India you have form 16, right? In India you have form 16. Now in US you have this W2. Okay, so that social security tax withheld, that is mentioned there is box number 4. Medicare tax is box number 6. Now what is percentage of that, how that is calculated and all, we will see progressively. Okay, though you are a EA student, you know all these things. Hold, okay, control. Even if you are a CPA or you are our intern, please control. Okay, then social security tips, allocated tips and all, are for waiters and somebody like that working in the hotel industry. Then dependent care benefits, in case employer is providing any dependent care benefits, to take care of their kid or age old parents or sick person, anybody who is unwell. So any kind of dependent care benefits, even education and things like that. Then non-qualified plans, 11 to 14 you leave it, that we study in EA, and here also we will study. Then 15 you see state, number 15 you see state. Okay, see, a person can work in different states, right? Possible, right? He can work in different states. Each state will also have a state ID number. All this, I mean, the left, what is this side? Yeah, for me it is left side. Okay, I think for you also it is left side, right? Yeah, so you see right from A, employee social security number, employer identification number, just like how an employee will have SSN, social security number, employer will have identification number, employer identification number, employer address, so let's say Infosys. Okay, then control number, then employee first name and initial, let's say Nanda Kumar. Okay, Nanda Kumar, then Kannavardharaj, last name, and then employer Infosys, employer identification number, employee social security number, employee first name, initial, last name, then employee address and zip code, where does he stay. Okay, let's say assume he stays in Delaware, but he is working for employer in New Jersey. Earlier he worked in Texas, right? TX, and then wages. So $100,000 ka, let us say he made 60,000 in New Jersey and then 40,000 in Texas. Okay, so the breakup of this 100,000 will be given here, 60,000 here and then 40,000 here, and then the necessary state income tax, necessary local wages. Are these subject to local taxes? Okay, I'll tell you when we come there what states are subject to local taxes, what states are subject to city taxes, county taxes and all. I'll tell you. Okay, abhi ruko. Next, local income tax and then locality name. So these are the different taxes, what we saw. So if you go to Google and type form W2, you will be able to see all these things. Okay, yeah, this is form W2. Okay, just go through this once, and whatever forms I am showing you, I would request you to please create a folder. Okay, in module 1 if I showed you some forms, just go to Google, like how I did, just go to Google, type form W2, right? I'm displaying you my Safari also. Yeah, just go to Google, just type form W2. Okay, oh, this came too big. Yeah, and then you get this, right? First one, just click on that and then the form opens up. Just go through that once, and please save these forms on your desktop or somewhere, module 1 forms, module 2 forms, or if you want to go lesson 1, something like that. Create a folder with the module names and what all forms did we discuss. Just keep it there, okay, again, so that when I say W2 again, you need not go to Google. I mean, just pull out the form and it will come. It will be very interesting topic, it will be. And also during the tax season, when you are preparing the tax return and all, you will be getting, you know, these W2s only for your individual taxpayers and all. Okay, so it's very important that you get a strong hold on this. Chalo, we will come back. Okay, so that was about employees. Yeah. Okay, I hope you highlighted all the important points that I said there. Okay, employers must withhold federal income tax, underline that, federal income tax, social security, Medicare tax, state income tax, and then local income tax from employees' paychecks. In addition, the company must match the social security and Medicare tax payments of employees, plus make federal and state unemployment insurance contributions on their behalf. Okay, I told you that whatever are the social security taxes, I showed you, right, in W2. Even now, if you have it in your system, just see those boxes. Box 4 is social security tax withheld. Box 6 is those Medicare taxes withheld, right? So the same amount must be deposited even by the employer. And then make, you know, federal and state unemployment insurance contributions as well. So this is for the employees. We discussed this example also. What you saw here, the example was also discussed. Now we go to understand independent contractors. Okay, independent contractors. Okay, so let's try to understand what this independent contractor is. An individual designed as an independent contractor is generally self-employed. Okay, underline that. Is generally self-employed. Is a self-employed person and can work for multiple employers. Underline that also. And can work for multiple employers. And controls the job and performance of the work. And controls the job and performance of the work. Okay, so what is that? An individual designed as an independent contractor is generally self-employed and can work for multiple employers. Okay, and controls the job and performance of the work. Okay, so let's say there's a housekeeping company. So that housekeeping company can put its employees in different companies, right? Or there may be an electrician. There may be an electrician or plumber. He can be working for different employers, different companies. Getting it? Okay, I mean, so let's say, you know, 1 week he sets for one company's entire, you know, plumbing and electricity maintenance. Next week he goes to a different company. 1 week Infosys, 1 week HCL, 1 week Mindtree, the other week Oracle. I mean, next, independent contractors are generally hired to work a specific job and can hire labor required to complete the job. Okay, read that again. Independent contractors are generally hired to work a specific job and can hire labor required to complete the job. They generally furnish their own tools, equipment and training, right? So if a plumber is coming to your home or an electrician is coming to your home, now you will not be giving him, you know, all those screwdrivers, you know, those chota tools, or, you know, this sanitation works ke liye, some bathroom cleaning and all, you know, somebody is coming. Now you are not going to give them those tools. You just told them that, "Arey bhai, housekeeping hai tumhara, you are supposed to take care of all these things." Okay, every week, every month, first week you are supposed to come. So something like that. Now he can be working for different employers. Okay, then so independent contractors are generally hired to work a specific job. Underline that. Specific job and can hire labor required to complete the job. Okay, so it's like shadi ka hai. Okay, you are a caterer, let us say. Okay, now tomorrow is my daughter's birthday. Now let's say we are hosting a dinner or something, okay, and we are calling some 50 people. Now I am contacting a catering company and telling them that, hey, I need food for 50 people. So here in Hyderabad, Paradise Chichas and all are very, very famous, land of biryani I am from. So we are telling these people, I need food for 50 people. For 50 people we need food. Now it doesn't matter to me how many people he is hiring. Are you getting it? All that I need is food for 50 people. Now he is the one who is controlling his job, and he is the one who is controlling the performance of his job also. Are you getting that? Right? The taste and all. He is responsible for that. And that is his job. He is given a specific job. I mean, whatever you have underlined, okay? So he is given a specific job to prepare biryani, let's say, food, and hire labor required to complete the job, okay? Now let's say there's a wedding, तुम्हारे बहन का ही शादी है. Now you are getting the mandap decorated. You have told him what flowers you need, I mean what kind of, how it should go with the dress, how it should go with the lighting and everything. You told him the flowers and all. Now it is for him to hire the number of people to do that flower decoration by that time, by that wedding time or engagement time, jo bhi hai. He is a contractor. Are you understanding the difference, right? Who is an employee, who is a contractor? So you have given them a specific task, and that person will decide whom to hire and things like that. Now they generally furnish their own tools, okay? So just underline that also, okay? You get questions on these. Yeah, इसीलिए I am asking you to underline. No sir, I remember everything, then don't underline, okay? Up to you, okay? Because we are not writing, so wherever you feel like scribbling something, the examples that I am giving and all, you're free to add to it. They generally furnish their own tools, equipment, and then training. Next. Now here also there is an example that is given. Now an electrician submitted a job estimate to a housing complex proposing to perform electrical work. Electrician का ही example आया यहाँ पे. Proposing to perform electrical work at $1,600 per hour for 400 hours for a total of $6,400. The electrician is to receive 5 payments over the next 10 weeks. The compensation arrangement is not considered payment by the hour, because if the electrician works more or less than 400 hours, the payment will still be $6,400. The electrician also performs electrical jobs for other companies. Okay, which have obtained through advertising. Which have been obtained through advertising to the public. The electrician is an independent contractor. Okay, so it's like now you see you have these urban clap and all this. Urban clap, independent contractor, right? So you want some electrical, or you have this Ramu Kaka and all. So you want to get this electrical work thing done. So you saw the advertisement in urban clap or somewhere, and you call that person, they are coming and repairing, okay, and then going. So sometimes just to check if a AC is working or not, just for coming also the charges will be the same. So let's say 500 rupees or 1000 rupees is a consultation, just like doctor. I mean, for consultation you have to pay them whether you have sickness or not. If you are visiting the person, you have to pay them, right? So similarly an electrician also, just to come and check the wiring work, so he'll tell sir I'll come and check, okay, I'll be there 1 or 2 hours or so, we'll just do a check, but one day cost it will be this much. So let's say 5,000 10,000 rupees, I'll do your entire office checkup, and if there is any defect or anything has to be replaced, those tools you have to purchase, and then again the service charges will be extra. Yeah, that's how it goes. So the same thing here. So here if you see, you can underline these things. In the second, an electrician submitted a job estimate to a housing complex proposing to perform electrical work for 400 hours, so and so 6400. Then electrician is to receive 5 payments over the next 10 weeks. The compensation arrangement is not considered payment by the hour, because if the electrician works more or less than 400 hours, the payment will still be 6400. The electrician also performs electrical jobs for other companies. Underline that, electrical jobs for other companies, okay, which have been obtained through advertising. Underline advertising also. So he is doing some digital marketing or something. Just imagine. Just imagine, he is doing some digital marketing, okay. That electricity, घर में कुछ खराब हो गया, बत्ती नहीं चल रहा है, okay, बंदे को याद करो, something like that. He is doing some digital marketing, and people know that whenever there's a problem, you can call upon this guy. So hence the electrician is an independent contractor. Now see here, there's a beautiful example of the difference between an employee and an independent contractor. Okay, so if you see here, employee, he is paid hourly or by salary, right? He is paid hourly or by salary. Now here, independent contractor, he is paid upon completion of project, like what I told you about the food. I need food for 50 people. Okay, sir, so for 50 people, okay, each plate is like 500 rupees minimum, let's say. So 500 into 50, how much is that? 2500? 25,000. 25,000. So 500 into 50, I'm poor in maths. So 500 into 50, 25,000. So you please give us 20% advance, 5,000. Okay. A balance I'll give you, after once you complete that, if you like the food, and once we serve there, you give it. So this is paid upon the completion of project. Now employee, he uses employer's materials, tools and equipment. Now contractor, he provides own materials, he will use his own materials. Next, typically works for one employer. Now he works for multiple clients. Next, continuing relationship, at will or defined term. This is temporary relationship until project complete. Now at will or defined term, it is like in case you have hired a seasonal employee, so you are telling them that it is 4 weeks, it is 4 months contract, 6 months contract or 1 year contract. Okay, now we have H&R block, let's say, they hire people from us on a contract basis, every year, or 6 months, 8 months, and then based on how the employee performs, again the contract gets extended and things like that. So continuing relationship or temporary relationship, it's just until the project is complete. Next, employer decides manner and means of performing. It is employer who decides the manner and means of performing, how you should perform. Now here, contractor decides the manner and means of performing. He will tell his team, hey, we have to deliver 50 food for 50 people tomorrow. Chakkas banna hai food, right? Ungliyon ko kha jana log, aise bana. Probably you will jump into a biryani after this class. Next one, employer determines work period. Employer determines the work performed, and then contractor and client agree to project scope. Okay, I hope you are able to understand this. Okay, let's take a look at your material also. What's there in the material also? So if you see below that example, tax withholding is not required for independent contractors. Wow. Tax withholding is not required for independent contractors who provide the employee. Okay, so please underline this. Tax withholding is not required. Okay, just underline that. Tax withholding is not required for independent contractors. Okay, for independent contractors who provide the employer with tax identification number. Underline all this. Okay, tax withholding is not required. Okay, underline that. Then independent contractors, underline that, and then tax identification number, underline that. Okay, so tax withholding is not required for independent contractors who provide the employer with a taxpayer identification number. Next, Independent contractors who do not supply a tax identification number are subject to backup withholding. Underline backup withholding. Backup withholding. Okay. Now, what do we mean by tax identification number? Tax identification number means your SSN, Social Security number, or in case you don't have an SSN, ITIN, Individual Taxpayer Identification Number. Okay. So now that I am telling you about ITIN, though it is not part of our syllabus, I would encourage you to you have this okay, you are on YouTube only currently, right? Okay. Probably once you are free, what you do, YouTube पे जाओ, iLead Tax LLC. एक मिनट, let me get you there. हाँ, तो अपने YouTube में जाओ आप. These are all interlinked actually. Just type iLead Tax LLC ITIN. Okay. Nah, right. So 9 things to know about 9-digit ITIN. Okay. So we made some chota videos, and please go ahead and subscribe. I come live at least once or twice a week. This week I was busy with the payroll launch, so I couldn't come. But I will be active here soon. Okay. So take a look at this 9 things to know about 9 digits ITIN. Okay, this fellow ad is coming here. Yeah. Here, okay. So take a look at this. So here I have explained all this, about ITIN, how to apply for ITIN and all. Very informative video. It's just 24 minutes. So best thing to do is, when you are on your treadmill tomorrow, okay, because we spoke about the 20-20-20 rule. So when you are on your treadmill tomorrow, watch this 9 things to know about 9 digits ITIN. Okay, so 24 minutes 52 seconds, 25 minutes matu throw up. Okay, or do for 24 minutes. Give yourself 24 minutes in a day and see how the magic begins. Okay, so tax identification number is important. Yeah. Okay, now let's come back to the material. Before we go to temporary workers, let's read the other part also. So tax withholding is not required. Okay, tax withholding is not required for independent contractors who provide the employer with tax identification number. Independent contractors who do not supply a tax identification number are subject to backup withholding. Additionally, the company does not pay Social Security and Medicare tax or federal and state unemployment insurance contributions on the payment for services provided by an independent contractor. Must hai na, right? The company does not pay. Underline that. The company does not pay. He is not a full-time employee. He is just a contractor, right? See, for your employee, you will take insurance. You will make PF contributions and all that. For an independent contractor, he just came, to perform the services and then he left. That's all, right? So for that person, you need not do, all this Social Security, Medicare tax or federal and state unemployment insurance contribution and all. Okay. So just make a note of that. The company does not pay Social Security and Medicare tax or federal and state unemployment insurance. Federal and state unemployment insurance contribution on the payment for services provided by an independent contractor. Okay, then that one also. Independent contractors who do not supply a tin. Okay, so underline that. Who do not supply a tin, underline that. Okay, are subject to backup withholding, underline backup withholding also. If you are having a multiple color pen, okay, for anything that is opposite statement or negative statement, something like that, please underline in red. यानी penalty and all के लिए red में underline करें आप. Okay. Now next one, Form 9. Form W9, sorry. Form W9, request for taxpayer identification and certification, is used by a payer that is required to file an information return and needs to know the payee's TIN. Among other things, Form W9 is used by a payer to obtain the TIN of an independent contractor to be paid by the payer. Form W9 can be used by the US person, including a resident alien, to provide that person's correct TIN. Okay, TIN is the tax identification number. Now, why is the Form W9 used? Okay, so he mentions the reasons there for Form W9. Form W9 is used for the following purposes: to certify that the TIN being given by the payee is correct, or the payee is waiting for a number to be issued, certify that the payee is not subject to backup withholding, then claim exemption from backup withholding for an exempt US employee. Okay, so these are the reasons why it is used. Certify that the TIN given by the payee is correct. So first point to underline is TIN given by payee is correct. Next one, certify that payee is not subject to backup withholding. So underline not subject to backup withholding. Then third one, claim exemption from backup withholding. Third point, underline that. Claim exemption for backup withholding. So let's see how a W9 looks like. Let me show you how a form W9 looks like. Are you enjoying the session? Boring, eh? Even I don't like all these taxes and all. बट क्या करना है, जीने के लिए सब सीखना पड़ता है. और जीने के लिए नहीं, क्लाइंट के लिए भी. Client, if he is running payroll and all these things are important for him, right? So all these things are important for the client also. So we have to know all these things. Yeah. Form W9. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, so before we jump to this form, let's see what is W9 form used for. Use Form W9 to provide your correct tax identification number to the person who is required to file an information return with the IRS to report. For example, income paid to you, real estate transaction, mortgage interest you paid, and things like that. See, last year Corona time, many people were selling the land, all these things. So there were even non-residents, US non-residents, who were selling to US people. So when the money is being remitted to them and things like that, the bank will ask them for a TIN, tax identification number. Now, because they are not authorized to work in the US, they will not get SSN unless they are a US citizen or somebody. But they can apply for a ITIN, individual taxpayer identification number. Okay, so that is also called a TIN. Then who needs to fill out a W9? Those who should fill out a W9 are those who are working as, you can see this, right? Those who need to fill out a W9 are those who are working as independent contractors or freelancers, because the W9 is the form used by the IRS to gather information about such workers. The W9 form is the informational reporting tax form, meaning that it provides to the IRS about taxable entities. Next, who uses a W9? I'm just giving you, some information about W9. While tax form W9 is used most commonly by independent contractors, gig workers and freelancers who are paid $600 or more by business, it can also be used to report other types of income to the IRS. How do I get a W9 form? Jai Google. go to Google and then go to IRS website and you will find it. Can I refuse to fill out? Yes, you can refuse to request to fill out W9, but only if you are suspicious as to why business made the request. Be careful of filling out the W9 if business doesn't have legitimate reason to ask you, because you are giving all your sensitive information, social security number, all those things. How does W9 affect my taxes? Under a W9, the company will not withhold any taxes for you. You are responsible for ensuring the right amount of taxes are paid to the IRS, and when it comes to social security and Medicare taxes, you have to pay both the employer and employee share. We just read that. Okay. Next, who is exempt from providing a W9? Okay, not necessary. 501 organization, an NGO or somebody like that. How should an individual fill out a W9? There's a video that somebody has made. Who is exempt? Okay. Fine. Okay. Now, how much taxes will I pay on W9? If your income is a W9 arrangement and it is subject to backup withholding, the current flat rate set by IRS is 28%. So, okay. So just write somewhere backup withholding. Wherever you have written backup withholding, put arrow mark and say 28%. 28%. Then what is a W9? The purpose of W9 is to provide your US tax ID, alias tax identification number, to the person, including a financial institution, who needs to report certain information about you, such as income paid to you, contributions to IRS made by you, interest, dividend and capital gains earned by you, and that's all. Rest all you can just go through. This is more than enough. About a W9, this is enough. And this is how a W9 form looks like. Okay. Do not send to IRS. Okay. Just give this form to the person who is requesting you. Name, business name, if any, and what type of a person are you? Are you individual? Are you C corporation, S corporation, partnership, trust, estate, or a single member LLC? Okay. Trust or estate. Individual, sole proprietor, or single member LLC is one. Next, are you a limited liability company? If you do EA, you will understand all these things, what these terms are. Okay. And also, as I told you, subscribe to my channel iLead Tax LLC. So there you will see about all these things also. And Part 1, tax identification number. So enter the tax identification number. If you are an individual, enter here, or you can also enter your ITIN, individual taxpayer identification number. All are 9 digits only. Even employer identification number also 9 digits only. Then certification that whatever number I have given is correct, then I am not subject to backup withholding. I am a US citizen or so and so. I will also file FATCA. And things like that. Then sign here and then date, and you can just go through this form W9 and all in case you need more information on this. Okay, here they have mentioned backup withholding rate as 24%. Person making certain payments to you under certain conditions withhold and pay to IRS 24% of such payments. Okay, so earlier it was 28%, now it is 24%. Okay, fine. Just make that 28% to 24% backup withholding rates. Just make that 24%. Whatever you wrote now, just make it into 24%. Okay, you can just read through this form once. Rough reading, so it's not that important, but just give it a look. And then FATCA. And there is one other video which I want you to watch on YouTube. On this in this iLead Tax LLC only. 10 things. 10 things to know while filing your 2020 USA personal tax return. Okay, so I want you to watch this video. So you will get complete information here. Okay, so change this HD whenever you are watching any iLead video because you get better quality. So this is for 2020 I made this video, so take a look at this video. So this was used for presentation in Infosys also. So it's like 1.5 hour video. So probably you can split this video into 3 days and use it during your treadmill time. So watch this video. So this is one of such videos on everything to do with individual taxes, so you get a feel of EA part 1. I'll be doing this video again for 2021 with more updates, so I'll be coming soon. So anyways, rest all is about our services and all. So take a look at it and we'll see how it goes. Wow. Okay, so that was about I-9, and then we get into the next topic. Okay, that is temporary workers. Okay, so W9 is basically the form to get the tax identification number and all. Okay, now next one is temporary workers. Okay, you see the image speaks it. Okay, so in many situations an employer may need additional workers to perform services for a short period of time. The employer may contract with an organization to provide the workers needed to perform the services. Okay, so underline that short period of time. Second line, in many situations an employer may need additional workers to perform services for a short period of time. The employer may contract with an organization to provide the workers needed to perform the services. Underline that, contract with an organization. So he may tie up with somebody, right? Temporary workers to perform the services. Next, typically these workers are hired, screened and trained by the organization providing the workers. They are hired, screened and trained by organization providing the workers. Next, these organizations are generally called temporary help agencies or temporary staffing agencies, right? So we are aware of these terms, temporary help agencies or temporary staffing agencies. Next, the agency assumes the liability for the performance of the work. Hiring and firing are done by the temporary agency. The agency is responsible for the workers' payroll, taxes and any benefits provided. Okay, so underline this one also. The agency assumes the liability or the liability for the performance of the work. Okay, so underline that, assumes the liability. Agency assumes the liability. Next, hiring and firing. Underline that, hiring, firing, different colors, so that when you are revising, just go through that. Hiring and firing are done by the temporary agency. Next, the agency is responsible for the workers' payroll, taxes and any benefits provided. Okay, so whether it is their payroll, whether it is taxes, the agency will be responsible for payroll, taxes and any other benefits. Okay, so that's about the temporary workers. And then finally we will get to learn about leased workers. A leasing organization may provide an employer with workers who perform services on a long-term basis. Okay, so underline long-term basis. A leasing organization may provide an employer with workers who perform services on a long-term basis. The leasing organization enters into an agreement with the employer that specifies the services to be performed by the workers. The leasing organization enters into an agreement with the employer that specifies the services to be performed by the workers. So example, housekeeping, we spoke about that, right? So underline that the leasing organization enters into an agreement with the employer and what services to be performed. Next, the employer pays a fee to the leasing organization for the services provided. The leasing organization is responsible for payroll, taxes and benefits provided to its employee. So see, in other words, okay, both, if you see the temporary workers, they are calling it as an agency. Now here you see they are calling it as a leasing organization. Okay, so leasing organization is responsible, they say. Okay, so whether it is agency or leasing organization, the workers are there always. And when the assignment is short term, then you call them as temporary workers. No, the assignment is a little long or something, then they are called as leased workers. You get that? Leased workers and then temporary workers. Yeah, that's it. I think with this we close part 1, I mean lesson 1. Remember your goal and why you started. Remember your goal and why you started. Knowing the why of everything is very, very important. When you know the why of everything, then the how of everything, it becomes easy, right? Fine. So before we wind up, let's take a quick look at what we did today. Okay, so I'll close it here. Okay, so we revised module 1 and then we did module 2. So in module 2 we learnt about we went through that fundamental payroll process, and there we saw the first one, determining the worker type. Okay, determining the worker type. Now here there are 5 lessons in this, and then we picked up the first lesson, types of workers. And in types of workers we identified that there are 4 classes of workers: employees, independent contractors, leased workers, and then temporary service worker. So you can say temporary service workers as those who work who take up short-term assignments, and then leased workers are those who work for a long-term assignment. And then we discuss what are the objectives of this lesson, what are we going to do and all. And we understood who are employees. Okay, we reviewed an example there. Then we saw who are independent contractors. Now I showed you W2, right? Now when it comes to independent contractors, I have to show you this form also. I think I showed you yesterday, but I'll show you again. Tell me, what's the form for independent contractors? Okay, non-employee. Oh, sorry. Go for PDF. Okay, PDF will open up the form for you. This one is about the just some HTML page from the IRS website only. You have the form here too, but good to go to forms. Good girl. Okay, so 1099 NEC. Okay, so this is how a 1099 NEC will look like. This is how a form 1099 NEC will look like. Non-employee compensation, then payer made direct sales, federal income tax withheld, state tax withheld, okay, and things like that. So this knowledge will be very useful for people who are already working in the LLC or even in the US individual taxes. Okay, as the tax season is coming, getting a good understanding of these concepts and all will help you how to deal with clients, whether W2 clients or independent contractors. Okay, it will help you a great deal. So know these properly. Chalo, coming back. So we learnt about independent contractors, then we saw 1099 NEC also. Then we understood the difference between an employee and an independent contractor. Then we understood who are temporary workers, right? Who work on short-term assignments. Agency takes care of everything. and finally we went on to learn about leased workers. Now here the leasing organization works directly with the employer, right? And it's mostly on long term assignments, and somebody leaves, the leasing company always replaces them. Okay, I hope you enjoyed today's session, and as I always say, remember why you started. And I keep saying this always, when you know the why of anything that you're doing in your life, then how of it doesn't matter at all. Okay, oh, we have to study this for 2 hours. Yeah, why you have to study this for 2 hours? So that you become a payroll professional, you can get into a good job, make decent money, or you can get into your own payroll practice, make decent money. Yeah, and fulfill your dreams, take care of your loved ones, be a blessing to the society, help entrepreneurs and company maintain compliance, withhold taxes and pay properly to the government, contribute to the development of the nation also. Yeah, there's so much. Okay, so whatever you are investing your time into, make sure you understand the why of it, wherever you are putting your time, even if it is on treadmill. Yeah, because you are the CEO of your life, you are the hero of your life. Yeah, take care, all the very best, and I'll see you in the next class.